Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a pair of earrings with fancy wire wrapped head pins and Czech glass beads from Raven's Journey. So today we're going to be using our artistic wire, and I'm going to be using the 20 gauge today to help me make this earring. And these are the beads from Raven's Journey. These are Czech glass, and I have a beautiful coin-shaped lotus focal that I'm going to be using here today. And then I have these little teardrop shapes, and they look like they have little shavings on them with color, so it's going to be really fun to use. So I've chosen this pink color here today, but I've also brought out a few of the other colors, shapes, and styles that will work with this design. So you can see we have a very colorful array, and this is all from Raven's Journey, and you can get all of these at beadaholique.com. So we're going to need some tools here today. I'm going to be using the Wubbers bail making pliers. I have my wire rounder tool, and I'm going to show you how to use that. And then I have some nylon jaw pliers here. And then our more basic tools are going to be your flush cutters, pairs of chain nose pliers, and a pair of round nose pliers. So once you have all of your tools, we are ready to begin. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make that fancy wire wrapped head pin. So I'm going to take off some of our artistic wire here. And while it's on the spool, I like to use the wire straightening pliers to really just get a good grip and just straighten that wire as much as I can. All right, and then I'm going to come in with my flush cutters and trim off about 4 to 6 inches or so. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little spiral here. So I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers and try to get them as close to that tip as possible. So it's really close to the tip there because I want to make a nice teeny tiny little spiral. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold that and just turn the pliers, and then I'm going to rotate, set that second one in there, and just really try to get that to be a nice tight little, almost like a little eye pin, just like so. So you see how nice and teeny tiny that is. All right, so now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to sort of grip that right into my pliers. So just grip it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this edge of the wire and I'm going to bend it up so it kind of comes around and just moving ever so slightly. And then I'm going to rotate and bend it, rotate, bend it, and just working my way all the way around, creating this little spiral. This little coil here, so you can start to see how it's coming together. And the chain nose pliers just help keep it nice and flat, and it's also helping to work harden it. I'm not gripping too much because I don't want to scratch the wire. Coming up towards the top here, working my way around and around and around. All right, so you can see, let me set this down. I've crossed over where that little node has started. So now I've gotten that far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, come to the top here, and just sort of bend that up at a 90-degree angle. And that is going to be my fancy head pin. So now we're going to take this and we're going to slide on our bead and slide that all the way down. And then I'm going to make a little simple wire loop. So I'm just going to bend this back, grip it, wrap it up and over the top, move it across, and then come in with my flush cutters and snip that off. All right, so now I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers and just sort of straighten everything out to make sure it is nice and even. So we have one component done and ready to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 eye pins with simple wire loops. Now this is going to be a little bit, get some wire there. It's going to be a little bit more simple. So I'm going to take another strip of wire, cut it off, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm going to do that same sort of motion, but I'm going to move a little bit further down because I want this to be a little bit more of an eye pin. So I'm just going to rotate it down. You see how that's a little bit of a bigger loop? And then I can come in with my pliers and just bend that back. So that looks more like an eye pin that you're used to seeing. I'm going to actually just close that up a little bit. There we go. All right. And I'm just going to work hard on that for a second. There we go. and I'm just pressing it together with those nylon jaw pliers. So now I'm going to come in and string on my bead, and then we're going to just do another simple wire loop on the other side here. So just bending that wire back, bending it up and over, and across. Coming in with our flush cutters and trimming that off. And again, just sort of taking my pliers and just straightening everything out, making sure everything is nice and parallel. So that's one. So I'm just going to do that same thing again. Just making that eye pin, bending it backwards, and now repeating. And you can actually do multiples of these if you wanted to. If you wanted to make your earring a little bit longer, you can just keep making these. All right, and we're going to wrap that up and over the top and across. Flush cutters. And I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers again there. All right, so the last component that we're going to need is we are going to be making our own earring hook, and this is where those bail making pliers come into play. All right, so again, for this one, you don't need as much wire here. So I'm just going to straighten that off and cut that off. There we go. All right. So now what I'm going to do, again, we're going to do that simple wire loop. All right, so now we have our simple wire loop there, but instead of bending it back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my bail making pliers and I'm going to grip just above where that loop is. So you can see it's facing that way, and I am having the bigger end of the pliers on this side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend it around and bring it to the tip there, just like so. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and just about where that loop is, I'm just going to bend it up. And now I can trim that with my flush cutters. So now we have our own handmade earring hook. Now, one thing that you're going to want to do, especially if you're putting this through your ear, sometimes you have little burrs on the edge there. So this is where those wire rounding tools come into play. So all you're going to do is sort of attach it to the end and then just sort of twist. And what this is doing is this is softening that metal on the end, so it's really just sort of taking care of all those little burrs, so you're making it a nice rounded end, like a rounded tip of the wire, so that when it goes through your ear, you won't end up with any metal bits, and that's not comfortable, so we want to make sure that we do this. And you'll be able to see it, it'll start to develop. You might need to do it a little bit more. I'm going to do another couple seconds here. And just do it until, and you'll see the wire sort of round out and look nice and shaved there. All right, there we go. Yeah, that's nice and smooth. All right, very good. All right, so now we're ready to put everything together. So here's where we're going to use our 2 pairs of chain nose pliers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this loop and I'm going to open, actually I'm going to open this side because I want to create a fun little design here. I'm going to open that side, slip it on to our little lotus at the bottom there, and I'm going to close that up. And then I'm going to come to this side, open up this one, and then I'm going to put the 2 small tips towards each other for a little design element. And then I'm going to come in here, there we go, and close that up. And now finally, I'm going to open up this wire here, just ever so slightly, hook it on, and I'm just going to give that a nice little closure and just close that up. So all my loops are nice and all set to go, and there we have a beautiful little earring using just wire and a couple of beads. It's a really fun little design, and like I said, you can choose your favorite color, your favorite focal, but I just love using the Raven's Journey Czech glass beads. So choose your favorite color and have fun making this beautiful earring. You can get everything you see here by heading over to Beadaholique.com, and hey, if you're new to our YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button below.